Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Constantly Calibrating Podcast. As always, live on Mixer. I am your host, Josh, joined by my co-host, Blake, and our special guest, co-founder and chief gaming officer of Fan-Controlled Football League, or FCFL, Patrick Dees. Patrick, how are you doing today?
I am fantastic. It is incredibly excited to be here. It's been a long time in coming. I think we've been talking about getting together for the better part of a year, or maybe longer. I feel like it's good, and it's good to be here.
Like, you and I touched the base here and there, like, around the beginning of the year, end of last year, but it was like E3 where we decided, hey, we should do some stuff together, but that literally consisted of being at a party and you being much taller than me having to stoop down and scream in my ear, pretty much.
What did you say? Yeah, that's totally right. Yeah, I was deafening in there, right? Like, we're like, okay, I guarantee you heard about a ninth of what I said, and you're like, all right, that's great.
It was definitely a case of where after like we parted ways, I leaned over. Justin was with me. I went to Justin. And I'm like, I think I agreed to a podcast with Patrick, and
There you go.
Talked about some business deals. He seemed like a lovely gentleman.
I don't know, like, what happened?
That's Josh's secret weapon, though. Is he talks to you, and then 15 weeks later, he's like, "Hey, still ready for the podcast this week?" And you're like, "Wait, what? Hold on a minute. Okay, yeah, of course, I'm still down totally." And you're like looking through your phone, like, did he DM me? Did he? And my favorite part about that is that he manages to pull it off at every event. Like we had a show that we did with I Am Brandon, and Brandon was like, totally forgot about it.
Mm-hmm.
Except that Josh had like talked him up at E3, and apparently they were together, and he was like, "Yeah, totally, love, of course, yeah."
Anytime.
Hey, we DM'd after the event. There was a set time and date. It just there just happened to be about 2 months of back and forth before that date, or maybe a month before that date got set in stone. And by that time, Brandon had not exactly remembered where he knew me from.
I'm just saying. We could send fucking emails. We don't need to send you to go physically get people on our web show.
That's the secret power, though, I feel like.
Yeah, of course, yeah. It doesn't happen unless Josh is there in person.
I think you should, like, day of the show, 10 minutes into the show, they're supposed to be guesting on. You're like, you're late for your podcast. Could you please get on the show? Guarantee everybody just jumps on.
I mean, that is mental health breakdown. I've done episodes where literally it's like, I have a desire to do this topic. Is anyone interested in? And then 10 minutes later, I have like 3 people and we're talking about something. Right. So it does work. It's just not my preferred style of things, but now my special power is if you make the mistake of telling me you're going to come on my podcast, I take that as a definitive yes, and I will bother your ass politely usually.
Oh yeah, you said yes.
Yep, you said yes. We're best friends now.
You're doing this.
Yeah. Right, of course.
So
the mental health show has got to be a challenge, right? Because especially if you're doing that show and you don't want to be an additional mental health burden on people when you're like, remember you said you were going to do that show? Look, I'm going to stress you out. You're going to do that show? You're doing it? Yeah. Anyway, it's like quite a tightrope you're walking there.
It's why there has been 2 episodes of the Mental Health Breakdown recorded since the re-debut after E3, because it's a stressful show for me to do, and I know
I can imagine.
It is for other people, so we're announcing officially tomorrow, but we brought on a guest relations manager, essentially, is, I guess, the lack of a better term, his title, Kevin Wallace, and he's going to be helping me structure out how we're going to do that show and bring guests on without overburdening myself and them moving forward. That's going to be one of his pet projects. Kind of like we're working on. So, special announcement if you're watching this show. And if you're watching when this show actually gets edited and goes out, this has already been announced. Haha.
Man, we're nailing all the Josh tropes in like the first 10 minutes of the show. We've got
Josh, nostalgia tour.
We've got Josh talking about how he gets guests, and then we've got Josh making an announcement for the company within the first 10 minutes. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Playing bingo.
Yeah, it's
what? Yeah.
One of these days we should actually do a bingo game where it's just like the rest. We have like the whole team on a podcast, maybe with one special guest, and then it's just a bingo of the tropes of Josh, and let's see who can get it done.
We shoot out a little PDF on Twitter or something beforehand, like it's a bingo card, or like drinking rules games or whatever, and it's like I'm down.
I would play the ConCal drinking game for sure.
The ConCal drinking game
on board.
It would be a thing. But before we get into things, I just want to let you guys know this episode of the Constantly Calibrating Podcast is sponsored by Web Around Gaming. I'll have more info on that later on. I don't do ad reads anymore, direct top of the show, because it's weird. Anyways, I don't do the full spiel. So, Patrick, as I said, I want to talk to you in large part for the last few months since we really met in person and got to know each other and started, DMing and stuff. But you're a person who's been on my radar pretty much as long as I've known Blake, because you guys have known each other longer, and I realized later on that you and I probably were at events even in the same room, but there was no connection. But Blake would retweet you or get in conversations or with our mutual friend Mark Donica, and like somewhere along the lines I followed you, and somewhere along the lines I'm like, this is a guy I want to talk to. And then it just kind of just spiraled into this thing where I've been watching like your progress and all the different stuff you've been doing, and I have so much I want to talk to you about. I think people are not prepared for this episode because we're gonna go. There are so many things you're doing and so many things you have knowledge of that we're gonna land in a bunch of different places.
It's going to go some places for sure. I don't know about that, but I'm like incredibly excited to be here. Like I would do anything that Blake's involved with for sure. And like we'd said at the top, it's been a long time in coming. So thanks again for having me, guys.
No, my favorite thing about this also is the fact that Blake is on the podcast because you just shit talked him on Twitter.
No. Patrick and I have a very loving, caring back and forth that we exhibit on social media,
for sure,
and very late at night. And no, it always makes me deeply appreciative. Looking at Patrick's career, actually, because knowing that, God, Patrick and I have known each other for I want to say 6 years at this point,
something like that.
Yeah, we go back, and watching Patrick and our mutual friend Mark, watching everybody go from the level that we were at when we met to where we're at now is one of those things that is kind of unique to what we do. And it throws, God, it really throws like that time, this time, and like where we could be 5 years from now into such sharp relief. You know what I mean? Because before, it's weird because people tell you like, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing, or I don't know when it's going to happen, or I'm going to grind at this thing and we'll see what happens. And having people in your friend group or in your like peers, your colleagues, so to speak, like accomplish those levels, you genuinely get happy and then motivated. And that's what happens every time I talk to Patrick. That's what happens every time he drops by my stream. That's just every time we're tweeting back and forth at 2 a.m. I'm just like, fuck.
It is always at 2. You are my drunken tweet, for sure.
Listen, I'm happy to be.
Yeah. You up? No, yeah, but agree. Like, it has been fun, to your point. I mean, even the ConCal pod, like from where I saw you guys to the evolution of the show and other shows, like it's been awesome kind of seeing both you guys grow and all that, the content you guys are producing and whatnot. So I know this is the Mutual Appreciation Society, but yeah, to your point, it's been rad. I'm excited to actually catch up and hear the latest on your guys' end and talk about some awards a little bit later. So yeah.
We got some fun stuff, fun topics, but let's talk about one of the first things here. One of the things people who may be following on Twitter for probably the live show, we are doing a little contest with you guys, right now, with a fan-controlled football league, giving away a beast mode hoodie. So for more details on that, go to check out Twitter at ConCal Pod for at least those watching live. We have something later on for the not live people. That being said, tell me a little bit about FCFL.
Yeah, totally. So I think you teed it up at the beginning. It's FCFL is the fan-controlled football league. And what we're doing is we are rethinking football for the digital age, right? Like literally we are trying to build Madden, but in real life. So it is a football league of real people, all with 8 teams. They all live in Vegas. We play in Vegas. The whole thing we shot on in a television studio. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be like you're playing a game of Madden. So if you've ever played video game football, you understand the FCFL. The whole thing will be shot like Madden. There'll be a drone kind of following the action. It'll look and feel like that. Games are an hour. You sit down and watch the NFL on Sundays. Right now it's 3.5 hours long. Nobody's got time for that. So these games are an hour long, and fans choose everything in the league. They very, very literally choose the logos of the teams, the colors, the mascots, they choose the head coach, they choose the teams, they choose who starts for those teams, and then they call plays in real time. So it is very much like you are playing a video game. You're choosing the plays that your team runs and executes those on the field. So that is FCFL in a nutshell. Real life Madden.
All right, so when you say like fans choose what they're doing, do you mean like collectively choose, or is there an individual nature? Like, how does the choosing work? Because I missed out on your first run with things.
Oh yeah, totally. So I'll tell you a little bit about how this got started, and then we'll talk about the current instance. So so we for years, myself and a couple of the co-founders here, Ray Austin, Grant Cohen, and Saurabh Farudi, had been thinking about like, look, sports is really underserved from a technology perspective. We're all kind of technology guys, other than Ray, who actually played in the NFL. He's the one non-nerd. But we're all technology guys and said, hey, look, sports has been really underserved. So we actually approached the IFL, which if you're familiar, I know you guys probably don't know about it. Most people don't, but it's the premier like indoor football league in America. And we'd had some startups and had some exits, and we're kind of ready for the next thing. And we approached those guys and said, hey, we want to try this crazy thing. If we're going to actually build a league, we want a proof of concept team. So we bought one team in this league, and we told the commissioner, the guy's 35 and he looks like he's 14. And we're like, look, we want to, so he gets technology, right? And we said, look, we want to let our fans choose everything about it. And he's really liked us as an ownership group. And he said, okay, I think you guys are crazy, but go for it. So we started with geography, right? So the IFL is played all over the country. We were approved for like 5 different states, and fans chose where we played, right? They literally chose Salt Lake from the 5 different arenas. They chose Salt Lake. And then we went to Salt Lake and we had a press conference, and we said, so we could tell the people of Salt Lake and really the world about this team and what they were about to embark on. So this is right about, do you guys remember that Bodie McBoatface fiasco?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. How could you forget? You're citizens of the internet, right? So this is right about the time that was going live, right? So at their press conference, I looked right down the barrel of a camera and I said, look, if you name us Teamy McTeamface, we're going to be Teamy McTeamface. So sure enough, before I'd sat down, there was like 92 votes for Teamy McTeamface, and it was off to a healthy lead for a very long time. So that was first up was name vote. And they went through a bunch of names. We were almost the Stormin' Mormons, which I think the swag would have been unbelievable.
Wow.
That would have been amazing.
Wow.
Like
the magic underwear involved in such an undertaking.
The swag would have been so good.
Right.
Stormin' Mormons. We were almost the Spaghetti Monsters. We were almost the Ligers. But finally, it came down. The fans chose the Screaming Eagles because there's a military base, in Salt Lake. So they chose kind of a more conservative name. And then they went on to choose everything about the team. They chose our logo, our mascot, our colors. They voted for our head coach. We live streamed interviews with our head coach. They chose that. And then in 2017, February last year, we had fans literally call plays for an entire game. It was the first fan-run football game. And how it works is, to your question earlier, Josh, essentially, we want to put fans in a position to be successful, right? So you can't kick on first down. Blake can't put his grandma into the game, right? It gives you 4 options. Like, I don't know if you remember old school Tecmo Bowl. It gives you 4 plays. And it says,
oh my God, yeah.
I know, this is real building Tecmo Bowl. So essentially it gives you 4 plays that we want to run. The algorithm says, based on where we are down in distance, even if you're not a football fan, my mother, for example, never watched a football game in life, came to Screaming Eagles games and called plays because she knows all 4 of them are kind of plays that we want to run. It's about the nuance and strategy. So she can't fuck it up. So, which is awesome. As I don't know if your mother understands what you guys do for a living. It was really cool for my mom just to be able to understand. Telecommunications, all that never really jived. But she goes, "Okay, go Screaming Eagles." She could really get behind this concept.
Right.
But yeah, you choose 4 plays. And so the other thing is, to you, Josh, everybody gets a vote, but not every vote is created equal. So Josh, let's say you've been calling plays for all season for the Screaming Eagles. You've been engaged. You voted on head coach and logo, and you've been part of the team. Naturally, your fan IQ is going to be a little bit higher, right? So you're familiar with the plays, you know what works. Your vote, you accrue what we call fan IQ. So it's not just an abstract number. It's not that you know more. You're accruing a currency, for lack of a better term, called fan IQ, and your vote's going to be weighted about 42 times more than Blake if he just started calling plays today, which it should be. He doesn't know the team. He doesn't know the personnel probably well, even if he knows, but he's able to gain fan IQ faster, right? Based on maybe Blake's an expert and he starts calling great plays. So he starts accruing yards in the air, yards on the ground, and he'll be able to accrue fan IQ and have his vote be weighted and count for more. So just like, And all of those things are tracked, right? So as you're watching the football game, these are going to live on Twitch. Your audience is probably pretty familiar with streaming. They're going to live on Twitch. And so as you watch this game on Twitch, they acquired the broadcast rights for 2 years, and actually became an equity partner in the league. So we will be everywhere on Twitch. But as you're watching it, you'll call plays. And you'll see the ticker on the bottom right. Like it'll say Josh has 242 yards in the air and 131 on the ground. And Blake's got this. So like not only athletes are being kept track of live, obviously, like traditional football.
Right.
But so are the fans, because this is a fan-driven league. So you're going to see who's been the most effective play caller from a fan perspective.
So your big player shout outs, your big player like spotlights are focused on people who actually dedicate mental energy to existing in the league and affecting it, rather than just like so Mixer has a system that rewards people who watch streams with sparks. You can use those sparks to press buttons, etc., blah blah blah. And there's a lot of people that will bomb streamers with all of their buttons and all the stickers and all that stuff to just like make a big splash. But what you're talking about with Fan IQ is that the smarter, for a simple term, the smarter a play is made and the smarter that a call is made by each individual fan, it accrues a bigger balance. And as a result, those decisions carry more weight.
Correct. Absolutely. Right. As you've been following along with the team, your vote's going to carry a lot more weight. And the cool thing is, so this is, and I know, Josh, you were saying you're not like a pretty big traditional sports fan. Is that fair to say?
I'm not a particularly a big sports fan, traditional or otherwise.
No, fair enough. I know. So are you guys big esports guys?
Well, I'm getting to the point. I gained an appreciation. Actually, I talked to someone in esports stuff last week. I gained an appreciation back at DreamHack Austin. Yeah. And pretty much I'm a fan of the true greatest Rainbow Six Siege team there is on the internet, the Meaty Boys.
Yeah, go Meaty Boys. I know that reference.
As far as esports goes, I'm pretty familiar, actually. I've been following OWL since inception. Okay. I do participate and run the #1 best and most hype zoned Rainbow Six Siege team on Mixer, the Meaty Boys. You can go check those guys out on Twitter. Not to plug my own thing.
Shirt underneath the FCFL.
Right, yeah. You actually have one of the prototype shirts. The founders, the organizers, the captains, the team. We don't actually have shirts left, but we made sure to send one to Patrick. We can't show anybody yet because we don't have the right.
The meatiest of boys is what it says. It's very chunky.
But no, yeah, I'd say we're Josh is familiar with esports as a concept. I'm pretty familiar with like org and professional driven like structure stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the goal is really to marry, I don't think so. Like, for example, Overwatch, OWL. So I probably, 50, 60 hours of Overwatch in my life. I'm pretty familiar with the game, right? Like I understand the mechanics. I know how it works. I stick with the payload. But like, I don't think I can watch OWL. I don't think it's accessible. I played that much Overwatch and I don't know what the fuck is going on screen most of the time, right? And so my goal is to take football and it's really merge those two worlds, it's traditional sports and esports, and make it more accessible. It kind of all of the beauty of esports, right? With a game that people kind of know and understand. You might not necessarily be a fan, Josh, but the goal is to have it be accessible. You're learning as you go and kind of marry those two things. Like it will be different. It's an hour long. There's no kicking in football because literally everybody over said, I can't wait for kicking. So again, we're rethinking the game, but it's still going to be accessible. You'll turn it on. You'll still recognize it as high caliber football on the field.
Right.
And the other thing that I was going to mention was kind of endemic to esports is the fact that like there isn't geography. OWL did it, right? They started to say, hey, there's the Dallas team and the New York team and whatnot.
Right.
But a lot of these teams are just like Team Liquid or Team whatever. And we realized so I live in LA. If you are born in LA, you are just a Lakers fan. That is just how it is, right? There's some weirdos that sit in a corner and they like the Clippers, but they're just like trying to be different to be cool. You're like, come on, you're a Lakers fan. There's not this tradition from geography here, right? Like we're creating 8 new teams and they all live in one place. So there's no like inherent bias or reason to root for a particular team. So what we've done is we've had an owner. We have 8 different owners of these teams that are all celebrities or athletes that you can identify with, like people that you kind of get. We announced our first 2 this past week, right? So it was Richard Sherman and Marshawn Lynch, the beast mode. These guys each own a team in the league. And so when you start at the beginning of the season, you say, which of these people, for example, we might be announcing some people in the future. maybe I announce Snoop in the near future. And if that is the case, Snoop's a team owner, and you can say, look, do I want to be Marshawn's team or do I want to be on Snoop's team? And those teams are shaped around their personality. So it's not geography, right? It's what type of personality, what's that team made of? Who can I get behind? What personality do I want to?
So that's such a good way to not only brand your owners, because like I could say the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, and 10 people in a room of 100 people would know who I'm talking about.
Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones. People from Dallas know who I'm talking about because Jerry Jones causes so many fucking problems every year with all of his like, I need more money to build another stadium. And it's like, this is your third stadium in 25 years. Fuck off. But it's a great way to brand your teams as far as like establishing who's on the team, who's coaching the team, who owns the team, etc. And I know Snoop is a hypothetical, but could you imagine the community that rallies towards a Snoop Dogg-owned football team? Oh, sure. God.
Yeah, we're very excited. I mean, if you guys know Marshawn Lynch and Richard Sherman, two of the most vocal, arguably the best shit talkers in the history of the league. And that's something we're going to encourage. Yesterday, we were on TMZ with Richard Sherman, and he was asking about, they were on the same team years ago. They were on the same team in Seattle. And the guy asked, well, what's it like, you'd be reunited? And Richard started out kind of polite. He's like, we're going to figure it out. I know I'm going to get tired of beating his ass each and every week, but I'll figure it out. Like the shit talking's already begun. So I can't wait until we announce the other 6 personalities you'll be hearing.
Oh my God. I can't wait until you guys cut to like owners' headsets or like you have them in a box or something watching the game. And it's just both of them just endlessly ripping the other one a new asshole.
Dude, that's the goal. So you guys are familiar with co-streaming, right? Like each one of these owner operators, part of their agreement, right? The owners here is that they co-stream the games. So they are owners of the team, but you will have Richard Sherman for an hour talking over the game and be like, fucking call a run, guys, call a run. He's talking right to the audience. And so you might not really be that into football, but you want to watch Snoop talk about football or just hang out in that community for an hour. Right. There's something for you in this league.
So what like I always talk about with like streaming and stuff like that, streaming culture is it's this personality driven market. It's people always say like, there's some people who do go for, I'm just going to watch all the League of Legends streamers, or I'm going to watch all the creative streamers or things like that.
Right.
But I think the vast majority as time has gone on has gone to, I don't care what Super Blake's playing, I'm going to watch him. I don't care
100%.
what this person's playing, I'm going to watch him. And that's kind of what our television networks have become kind of with this market. So I really, I think it's really cool what you're doing, that you're creating this multi, level personality marketing thing. You choose your team based on the owner, but you also get to watch said owner by doing that, or you watch the other owners and be like, you know what, actually this guy is way more entertaining streaming this game. I'm actually going to be more interested in this team based on that.
Yeah, I mean, totally. And I think it'll be stuff that your audience is really familiar with too. Mm-hmm. It's going to live on Twitch for those first couple of years. And are you guys familiar with extensions? You've seen like video extensions? Yeah. Okay. So perfect. We are building an extension like you have never seen before. So in real time, it's going to put those plays up on the screen. So you'll literally be interacting with the stream, clicking, because I genuinely believe that second and third screen experiences are going away, right? There is going to be a convergence of those screens, and every video is going to be interactive. And so ours is going to be literally like the world has never seen. I'm pretty excited to start sharing it with people.
I'm so intrigued.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, Josh.
No,
one of my things that I'm picking up from this, because Patrick, I've watched you launch this. Yeah. And I've watched so much of this information come out from you. But one of the things that you're absolutely nailing is the attitude that a lot of people and a lot of your audience online is immediately familiar with. So sure. Josh pointed out the attitude from a fan towards a streamer, and that's not a mood, that's not an attitude that you can just explain to somebody whose biggest attachment to media was Monday Night Football.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
To try and explain to somebody who sits and watches those 3-hour games that they will have unprecedented access to their favorite players and coaches, like that's not a concept that's easy to communicate, but you nailed it. And
good.
The thing that I'm excited to see isn't necessarily like us old hats that have been on the internet for forever, that have streamed, that have made our own thing. It's people like my dad who fundamentally don't understand the relationship that I have with like my chat, or the relationship that the Meaty Boys has with the Rainbow Six community.
Yeah, sure.
I'm hearing a lot about what you guys are pulling in for, the tech assisted, the tech savvy people. What are you guys doing that's going after the traditional football market that's not just bringing in big names like Marshawn Lynch?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question, because I am with you. This has to be accessible for everybody. And I'll back up by telling you how I kind of got into this. So I grew up, I'm a big sports nerd, but my father wasn't. So part of the reason I've always wanted to do, most people like sit on the couch with their old man and then their dad talks to them about sports. I mean, I'm overgeneralizing, but that's how a lot of that gets passed down, right? Like in families. My dad was a choir guy. He is a drama dude, but never like a huge sports guy. But I grew up like really excited about, sports that I learned through playing Madden. I know everything I know about football now was all gleaned through like understanding play calling through video games. So I would say
my knowledge of video games is NFL Fever, by the way. That's what for the Xbox. That's the game that taught me.
Blitz.
You can play Blitz. Yeah.
Blitz. That's my football right there.
If we get compared to Blitz one time over the course of the season, like my dream is done. I'm like, all right, we nailed it. Yeah, dude, I learned playing video games. And so like I would sit with my father on the couch on the weekends and I would explain to my dad, hey, this is a 4-3, this is a 3-4, this is a prevent defense that I learned all through playing video games. And so I think the goal is that you asked about technology. First, we're going to live on Twitch, but we are very close to I think I can say this. I'm trying to think of what I can't say. We are very close to being able to talk a little bit about linear television. So actually being on CBS, right? So Twitch, most people don't know. I mean, outside of our generation, Twitch does not resonate with our parents, right? They won't go to twitch.tv and be able to find that. So my goal is to have another option for people to be introduced to the league. Now, we know that the feature set on Twitch will be the core experience. But I relate to, being on CBS, being on TNT, one of these networks, as a 2-hour commercial, right, sending people back to that core audience. And then the other thing is the onboarding is going to be really, really easy, right? Like, again, you can't call a bad play. The goal is there's something there for everybody, even if it's just these big personalities. Right. You'll be able to participate in the stream, even if guarantee Snoop's talking about getting high half of his stream. Right? Great. If it's shit talk and weed for his stream, then great. I'm on board. Like and oh, by the way, there happens to be a football game on that he owns in the background. So I think the goal is to have it be accessible for everybody. I want it to be a high skill ceiling too. It's going to be easy to get in, but really we want the gamification to be such that there is a mastery associated with it. Anybody can play, but I mean, you guys know games. I think there has to be a high skill ceiling for people who really want to drill down and get into it. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because you are actively rewarding the people that sink time into what this is. Because let's be real. We talk about, you mentioned gamification, and that's one of the things that I've studied pretty extensively over the last year in an educational standpoint. I bet. From a couch to a stream to a television experience, whatever. The idea that you have fantasy football leagues springing up around FCFL that then actively contribute to the knowledge and skill level of your individual audience, not just your players and your teams and stuff like that. It's a whole nother layer of the fantasy football idea that, holy shit, it actually has big payoff in the entertainment being brought, not just to people who are fans of that team, but people who are watching these teams go head to head, the brand, the owners, everything. It's all tangible. And I'm sure that you guys have already talked about tracking that and giving people badges and specialty rewards and stuff for people who are raising their fan IQ. You're totally on board. And so we definitely have a badging system. And I think it's kind of cool. You can do some really fun stuff with that. For example, let's say we wanted to do a charity drive and we maybe for Blake's team, it's the Red Cross, and it's anybody who donated $5 to the Red Cross gets that Red Cross badge. We can go down to even an individual. We can do the highest donor, or we can say everybody who got that badge, this play is for them. Right. So there's ways we can drill down to drive charity. That's cool too. All kinds of fun stuff. Right. And we can go down to an individual. Right. Let's say you donated $10,000 and that's your play. So we'll literally Skype you in with the offensive coordinator and you'll be the guy who calls that play. And it's just you. There's all kinds of cool stuff that we can do with that. I mean, down to a commercial level, right? We could have the Bud Light play of the game, right? So you scan a QR code, you get that, you have that Bud, and then now you're inebriated, you're feeling good. I'm calling that play. So all kinds of cool stuff we can do. No, that's awesome. It just sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'm really I just like everything about this. Just the gamification of sports, kind of thing. Just like that, just that aspect. I love the gamification of everything. I'm one of those people who's tried like 10 different apps on my phone for trying to convince myself that I really need to remember to take out the trash every
Yes.
like just those those bullshit tasks that I've never built the repetitive nature in my brain. So I love the gamification of that. So sports, which again is something I've desperately wanted to be interested in for the back half of my life at this point, but I had no foundation of that for forever, aside from on the original Xbox playing. I think it was NFL Fever. I was just picking a random name there, but I think that actually was the game. But that's like the entire history of my sports knowledge, and watching the Super Bowl every year with my in-laws. Which mostly consists of my mother-in-law, who knows nothing about sports, picking one team and then calling everyone a cunt who doesn't want them.
Right.
I'm going to your house, your in-laws' house for the Super Bowl. That sounds great.
You just mirror grandma, like grandma's. Yeah, fuck that guy. That guy, that one guy in particular. Yeah. The number, what is his name?
Well, here,
number 7.
Well, here's the thing. She'll actually she'll pick a team, but then she'll know all the details of them because she also is hooked into TMZ and everything. So she'll know everything about the team.
Oh, wow.
But she'll just suddenly be like, "Oh, that was a bullshit play. Rip his fucking dick off and throw it into the stands." And I'm like, "Damn, Mom, what the fuck?"
Cold-blooded.
She knows. She doesn't know plays. She doesn't know how the game is played at all. But she's like, "Yeah, that guy. Hey, send him back to prison. He was evading his taxes. He needs to go."
This is not a joke. This is literally that is actually stuff like that has happened.
God,
but so
live stream this, I will tune in. Literally, just set up a camera on her. I will watch it. It'll be my second screen experience.
Complete side thing. This has nothing to do with this at all. I actually tried when I first started dating my wife years ago. I met her parents and her brother, and I did a 2.5-hour pitch meeting trying to convince them to let me put webcams around the entire house because I was 100% certain. This is before Twitch or anything. Now, knowing Twitch, I'm like, thinking to myself, like, this on the internet would be, we will be rich doing this. But I also
were their objections?
Mother-in-law was in favor of it. My now wife and her dad wanted me shot and stuff.
Oh, of course. Your wife, who's never appeared on stream or on any podcast.
She's appeared on streams and she's appeared on podcasts before. She just also is half of her face off to the side, kind of.
Or like an arm, like an arm comes in and is like, "Hey, Josh, spend time with your children."
Listen to the arm, Josh.
Right.
That was actually the stream last night.
I get what you're saying though. Like I think to your point, like a lot of us don't have, and I say us because I mean this gamer community, right? Like I live right in that middle of it. There are a lot of my Twitter feed, like I'm in between two worlds. A lot of my Twitter feed goes, "Yay, fucking sports ball," right? Like this real condescending, like because they've never had an entry point, right? There wasn't a way that they could get on board. And I hope that the FCFL represents that for people because there's not this tradition. All you really need to do is pick a personality and say, "I want to get on board with that community," and then you're brought in and you're learning as you go, right? So if it's something that you enjoy and you like that community, we think that'll be a really good on-ramp for people who weren't traditionally really into sports. And it's sports for a generation. Like it's an hour long. It's not 3.5 hours. Nobody's got fucking time for that, right? So you're in, you're out. Like it's playing a game of Madden. You watch your stream, you watch your favorite, your celebrity owner stream the game, and then you call plays, and then you're done, right? So it's not this crazy commitment like the NFL games seem to be.
Well, yeah, that's like the multifaceted thing right there. One of the reasons I have always had issues with sports as I've gotten older is the fact that there's all this history with the teams and all this knowledge and all this thousands of things you are almost feels like you're required to watch. And then on top of that, the games are hours long, and then they are hours longer usually than the actual set runtime. So, it's always been one of those things like, no, if I had someone maybe close by who was interested, my wife was interested, maybe we'd watch it, but it's that history. And I even feel that way with esports because I didn't really discover esports until later on. And then there's suddenly all these Team Liquids and Team this and Team that and stuff like that. And all these players and all this stuff. I'm like, I don't know who the fuck any of these people are. So I like
and where do you start? Totally.
Well, I like the way you're doing this, that yes, just based purely on the fact that it's a new thing. That's a good entry point for everyone. But the fact that it is this player controlled aspect, I feel like you're setting people up that it's like, you're new to this, cool, make some choices and learn some shit kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. And you really can't go wrong. And I will tell you this, and we don't need to spend the whole show talking about the FCFL, but one of the things
I'm enjoying it.
It is something magic. Good, great. I'm obviously really passionate about it. And because I'll say two things here. One, this is only our first stop. We had a proof of concept team. This is the proof of concept league. Our technology co is looking to go start other leagues and other sports because they genuinely believe baseball is aging out of their demo. Why can't we have a three inning sprint where fans call everything? So it's high stakes bingo. Let's play some baseball, right? Look, games are a lean forward experience, right? We're on our knees, we're looking forward, we're calling plays. Right now, sports is this back here, and you're hanging out. And I want to change that across the board. So first of all, more will be coming from this, but I will say that there is something magic, and you guys know this. Look, as gamers, I'm literally our chief gaming officer because this is my space. I love this as a hobby. I think there's been a renaissance in video game narrative, but I don't need it. And so I spend most of my time evangelizing this. But you guys and your audience gets this more than anything. The level of investment when you've made decisions is unparalleled. You feel a kinship to Geralt or Lee from Walking Dead or whoever those things because you were along with the journey. And it is the same fucking thing here. For our proof of concept team, our very first game, we really encouraged interactivity, right? So we required our athletes to meet the fans. And after first of all, the very first fan run touchdown ever, 3,000 people stormed the field because they felt like they called it. It was a crazy spontaneous moment, but they called that touchdown. They felt entitled to run on the field. And we ran on too. It was amazing. We're all of the flags, whatever. And then after the game, I saw this and it was scripted, but this really happened. I saw a wide receiver. He's meeting some kids. And this little kid is waiting till the older kids kind of get out of the way. And this little kid, maybe 7, 8 years old, walks up to this guy, 6'4" receiver, and he looks up and he's like, hey, Devin. And he's like, hey, what's going on? And he goes, I called that play. So then Devin gets down on one knee, looks this kid in the eyes and said, thanks for calling my play, man. And fist bumped him. And the kid, we'll never forget that. He'll be talking about that when he's 60 because he called that play and they had a moment. So we're fundamentally changing the relationship between players and fans. And that you guys get it more than anybody. You feel a sense of ownership when you're driving that narrative. It is that stuff that we love in games brought to sports.
Right. That made my heart flutter, by the way.
That's a fan for life. That's a fan for life right there.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And
I'd still be talking about it if that happened to me when I was an 8-year-old. I'd be like, wow, back when I was a kid? Yeah, totally.
Dude, the best that I've got is that my dad sold Deion Sanders some cars. And so he gave me a bunch of jerseys and some hats. Deion Sanders. I think I sold him to pay for some college. But yeah, man, FCFL, I'm not joking when I say this because I watch a lot of soccer. I watch a lot of F1. I watch a lot of motorsports type stuff. This is probably the coolest and most forward-thinking concept I've ever seen in entry-wise into sports. And you touched on baseball for a minute. I played baseball growing up. I've always loved playing baseball. You could not fucking pay me to go to a baseball game.
No, you're there to shoot it's white noise. I'm there to have a beer and eat some peanuts, man. I'm not there to watch a game at all. I love going to Dodgers games, but I'm not paying attention to what's going on in the field.
There you go. And I knowing that you guys, because the cool thing here is, like I said earlier when we were just talking and shooting the shit, I've loved watching your career and the trajectory and the places that it's hit, knowing that you're not just focused on football. You're also thinking about baseball, looking forward from there as to where this concept, where this kind of frame can fit over other sports and not just limiting it to the one type of thing. It's fantastic. And I can't wait to be more invested in stuff that I have not necessarily ignored, but that I've been on the player side of more than I have been on the fan side of. I'm more interested in participating and being an integral part of a team or of a community. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And just sitting there and saying oh yeah, my Cowboys are doing okay this year.
Right.
To
say we won and really mean it. Right. Not right. To say we won.
Well, I was going to say that the most rage-inducing thing for me as not a sports fan is the times when people are like, hey, did you see we won the game last week kind of thing? And I'm like, what were you doing? You were sitting with a beer with your hand down your pants for 3 hours.
You didn't do shit.
Yeah, 100%.
What was your contribution? But to actually have, again, that sense of ownership, that sense of directive, and that sense of building a narrative with with other like-minded people. Look, I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna be blunt here, Patrick. Like, I was excited to talk to you about this at the start of the show, more than anything because you're my friend and I wanted to hear what you were working on. I'm now sitting here thinking of, I really want to do this and play this, and holy crap, if they do baseball, I'm gonna be all over this. And how do I convince Patrick to do basketball?
Because we're making up sports as we go, so for sure. And I think it's been really cool. Like, our proof of concept team, really proved it out. Like, we finished with the third highest rated offense in that league. So fans are invested. I think the knee jerk was like, well, Twitch plays Pokemon and like it's going to be a mess. But like fans called good plays. We were right. And so, when we saw it, we had 100 different countries calling plays for the little tiny team in Salt Lake. So we couldn't be more excited. And I am personally inviting you to come to the first game. It would be the last week of May, the first week of June in Las Vegas. I would like both of you to come to game one. We'll host a live show there and do something. Yeah. So I hope you're there.
Anything I can do to support you.
Yeah, no, that's where I'm at as well. So a couple questions though from the chat before we do anything else. So somebody asked, let me see, I'm trying to find it again. Galaxy Visor asked a little while ago, what if you can talk about this? What will the stadium be like location? What's the setup going to be?
Question. I can't say exactly where. That announcement's coming soon, but it is a top 5 casino operator in the world. It is in Las Vegas. We are playing in again, we're rethinking it, right? Like, everybody plays football in these huge stadiums. We are playing on a TV set, right? So we'll have like 500 or 600 fans there watching. So they'll be like really atmospheric. But it's a 50-yard field, which is half of a traditional football field, and it's 7-on-7. So it's 30 yards wide, 50 yards long. It's going to be fast, high-paced. And it's cool because with this world-class and production studio there, like, the technology will be unlike anything you've ever seen. We're incorporating wearables, helmet cams, the whole thing shot by drone and spider cams. So it'll look like this future version of football. But also because all 8 teams are in one location, we can skin the field. It will look dramatically different depending on who's actually playing, like which team. So it'll have a look and feel that'll be varied by whatever team is the quote-unquote home team. But we're rethinking it. It is all new.
And then to bring up another question, because he's actively invested in what's going on right now. He also mentioned, is there any gambling involved, and will players be able to directly benefit from the coin system, fan token?
Oh wow, we didn't even touch on fan token. That's pretty great. So gambling, I couldn't really speak to. We're kind of landing on what our strategy is there. We know that there's been a legalization of gambling in all 50 states, so there definitely will be. Our relationship and involvement with that gambling is kind of TBD. So I couldn't tell you, but yes, definitely there'll be some gambling in the game. And so, and not to spend too long on fan token, but we've got 2 types of quote unquote currency, right? We've got that fan IQ you talked about, which is you earn just by participating. You also earn a fan token, which is another type of currency. You guys are used to video games. There's a paid currency. So you earn, this is a free-to-play game. Anybody can play. Certainly requires no monetary investment at all. If you do want to purchase fan tokens, you can purchase those fan tokens, and then it's immediately you get a weight boost. So if I want my vote to really count, I can purchase those as well. So I think what they're asking about it, can players get involved with that down the road? And we don't need to spend forever talking about blockchain, but I am really into the tokenization. I'm obsessed, but I'm into the tokenization of things. And one of the things that we could do would be like, for example, we could tokenize players, right? So let's say there's a Blake plays in our league. There's 100,000 Blake tokens in the world. And Blake gets 40% of those. You just own them. They're yours. Yeah. So as you perform and those are traded like on exchanges, the better you do, the more those are going to be worth. So very literally, your stock is going up. Your token is worth more. And then we can do some really cool shit. What if on Twitch, somebody's throwing bits at you because you just dove and had a touchdown? I could take those bits, buy a token off an exchange, and burn it. So now there's fewer tokens. The ones that you still have are worth more. So you're benefiting from that. So there's all kinds of cool things we can do with the token system that some of the mechanics we're still working out. But excellent question.
It really gives incentive and a new meaning to the term most valuable player.
Yeah. Yes.
It really does,
yes,
doesn't it?
For sure. I like that.
So yeah, so excited as we are talking about fan controlled football league. There's other stuff we have you here for. So let's diverge now. So for those who might be catching this after the live show, the Game Awards is tomorrow night.
Yes, it is.
For those watching live, Constantly Calibrating is going to be doing a live reacts for it.
I can't tune in. I'm gonna be there, luckily enough. But
you motherfucker!
I know.
I can't come to your live stream. I'm sorry. I'm gonna be at the Game Awards.
Third row.
Yeah, Patrick, no, that's what you do. Just pull up our stream on your phone and show people.
Amazing.
just like if a camera comes near Patrick, he's just surreptitiously just like looking at us as the camera comes by.
Reading the teleprompter ahead.
Yeah, technically we were on the Game Awards.
Yes.
I mean that's as close as I'm getting there with everything going.
That's awesome.
But we're gonna do a reacts thing. We're not gonna talk specifically about awards and stuff. Justin and I have already talked about like award predictions and stuff on Catch-All. Right. We're gonna talk about winners after the fact. But kind of wanted to talk to Patrick here. We had a little back and forth about this, about kind of the idea of gaming award shows. And you know, if we have some thoughts on where they are now and kind of how they've developed, and is Jeff Keighley's Game Awards the right thing? If I'm correct, CBS did some sort of Game Awards thing I think it was CBS the other day that I know Stephanie Tinsley of Tinsley PR was live tweeting and said it was like the worst thing ever.
Was it? I missed it.
Look up Tinsley PR. It was this cluster.
Fuck.
I tried to look it up while I was talking.
I touched on it briefly because I saw it on Twitter, but it was the Gamers Community Choice Awards or something. It was like the most bland vanilla
But they had Kiss perform.
Who did?
Kiss.
Oh, no.
Gene Simmons.
I love it.
The guy with the tongue.
Oh yeah, no, I've met Gene several times. I was partners with Vince Neil from Motley Crue in a football team in Las Vegas, and so the other team was the LA Kiss. So I've met Gene and those guys several times.
I love just the throw out of that.
I have to tell you guys this because this is the weirdest fucking Kiss thing. There is a plan, and I don't think this is really wrecking anything. I wouldn't be surprised in the next couple of years if you see Kiss live forever. That the Kiss brand shoots Gene and the team into the sun, and they come back off of a rocket ship as young men, and new Kiss shows up again. I'm just saying, I've heard that's the branding plan for Kiss into the next generation, which is unfucking believable. I thought you'd appreciate that. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But I love that.
I just to be clear, by the way, I don't believe Blake's camera's frozen. That's just he is just frozen.
I know. It's amazing, isn't it?
That's just like let's make Kiss, but Doctor Who the fuck out of it. They fly into the sun and they came back as young men.
No, Muppet Babies. It's Muppet Babies.
It's Muppet Babies. I want fucking Darren Criss to crawl off a spaceship and do the thing. Like, I need it. I need him to be in Kiss now. I need the black and white and the chrome and everything.
I never knew I needed something like this.
Oh my God. Are they gonna stay the same people? Like, people are like, oh, I love Kiss. It's amazing. That Gene Simmons, he's just such a handsome guy. And you smash cut to like this European model looking guy in the face paint. And he's like, yeah, I am Gene Simmons.
No, I am Gene. Yeah.
God, definitely. Wow.
So with the where was I going with this? With the Game Awards, so like just the nature of Game Awards now and where you see that going. Is it going to continue, you think, follow? Because right now the Game Awards still holds true a little bit to the traditional award show model, or do you think it's going to finally start really like ripping away from that and actually, I don't know, actually embracing gamer culture more so?
Well, I mean, we have so many different types of video game award shows right now, right? We have the one that we just had, which was the community one, which people vote for shit. And then, like, I understand the benefits of having an audience engaged. We just spent 45 minutes talking about it. I understand the idea that you want to have everybody like voting for certain games and things, and that's great. That's fine. But when are we going to get, the Oscars of video games? When are we going to have like an academy that actively analyzes releases and stuff like that? And it's less about marketing and it's less about hype and it's less about like how much money can we throw at this thing? You know what I mean? And when are we going to start basing these awards off of artistic merit? Which I know that seems like a really strange thing to come from a guy who plays as many video games as he does. And, I consider the pinnacle you know, a broken game nobody's ever heard of from 2004. But I really do think, like, because we have so much community driven choice stuff and community designated award stuff, like, I don't know, something, because we have the Screen Actors Guild Awards, right? And the SAG Awards are very much a community of peers and equals and directors and actors and stuff. SAG, BAFTA, that kind of thing. Like, we have that represented for other types of media, and I would love to see something like that for video games.
So I could be wrong. Keep me honest here, but I think there are, like, the DICE Awards or that, right? So that's the community voting on. So I think there is a parallel inside the industry, and that happens kind of in March the following year. And I think, look, say what you want about Jeff. I think it's really hard. So A, the guy's an awesome dude personally, but B, what he's doing is a Herculean thing to do. Like, it is so much work to put on a show like this. And I think he's actually going through, you're talking about the process, but, like, you know, they are outlets all over the world vote on this stuff. I think he's got a great process by which he eliminates the stuff. So it's not a function of, you know, marketing spend or anything. It's literally, you know, kind of leading outlets and from the enthusiast press that, like, are opining on this stuff. So to me, this feels as close to the Oscars as we're going to get. And there's some validation. I get really excited. I think the draw there, and who are we fucking kidding, are the world exclusives, the trailers. Like, that's why we're all tuning in. But, like, I, for one, it's a really great retrospective for me. I love the show. I go every year because, like, I like to look back and be like, oh, remember that moment? I was playing as Arthur Morgan. I can't believe that happened. And or you know, like every year there's something that goes on. So
I love the evolution of the Game Awards, because you remember when it was the Spike Video Game Award?
I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, we've come so far since those days. Yeah, and, like,
it's not comparable.
My comments aside, like, I see where they line up with the VGAs, and I see, like, where they're at as far as the way that they're trying to make the VGA. Like, I'm not trying to question legitimacy or what Jeff's doing, because very, 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 very few people that present and make their careers around being presenters of the caliber that Jeff is. Like, the VGAs are 100%, like, the closest, like you said, to the Oscars right now. My point was just, like, popularizing, I guess, stuff like the DICE Awards. And you bring them up. They're a great example of what I want to see and what I want, like, released, and what I want people to be tuned into. So maybe it's less about the shows, and maybe what I want people to be more focused on. You know what I mean? Because I've always put a lot of weight behind creators and their creations, whether that's game directors, showrunners like Kojima, Blazinski, or writers. You know, like the people who bring us Mass Effect and The Last of Us and things.
Yeah, totally.
It's just the VGAs is a really great. God, the VGAs is a really great representation of what I'm talking about, but the thing that pulls everybody in is the trailers and the hype. And
totally. He has to sell it some way, right? If it was just an award show, nobody tunes in. Well, I mean, I would, and maybe we would. Yeah. We are a fraction of the audience that he needs to put on a show of that caliber.
Right. The Chic Hydro hype bot.
You got to sell it, man. You got to sell it.
Somebody there, right?
you got to sell it.
I was to say, like, I'm just thinking about the fact that we're doing a Reacts thing. If it was just purely an award show, I don't know if we do a React show for it.
Right.
The React show is very it's because there is both the world premiere stuff and because there's the awards and just the structure of it, you know, all put together with those two pieces, lends itself really well to that format. But if you're just going to be talking about the game of the year or the best RPG of the year or stuff like that, I'll write an article or I'll talk about it on a podcast after the fact. I don't need to comment live on it. Maybe Twitter. I could live tweet it. That would be
fair enough.
And maybe
I get excited about it. Like, it's a good look back over the course of the year, and I'm always usually really excited about when he starts announcing them, because I go, obviously I do this thing, and I don't know if you guys do, but every time I play a game and finish a game through the course of the year, I add it to a Word doc so I can come back and start narrowing down what my game of the year looks like and by category at the end of the year. So, I mean, I always get excited to kind of compare notes to see where kind of what my list looked like versus the industry. And I am curious because I didn't hear the catch-all. Very curious as to who you guys have for game of the year. It really interested. We don't need to go through the whole list, but I would love to hear who you think's going to clean up this year.
Trying to remember. I think Justin and I both. Justin said that because we did the kind of funny mentality. We choose what we want to win, and we choose what is actually going to win. The expectation is Red Dead because it's the big technical achievement. It's all of it put together. Even though there's negative stuff about it and stuff like that. I just the technical overhaul together. I think we both agreed on that, and I and Justin both said God of War should win.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, are you in agreement, Blake? Those would be the same for you too?
I would say the one that everybody is expecting to win is Red Dead.
Yep.
The only question that I bring up with that is, like, I remember a couple of years ago, Far Cry wasn't eligible for any, like, gaming awards or anything like that because it came out in, like, December-ish. And there was some sort of statement put out. Again, this was a few years back, so I might be a little fuzzy. There's some sort of statement put out that they don't consider games that release past a certain date.
Yeah, they have to cut it off.
Yeah, and I think the date was, like, in September or something. Whereas Red Dead just came out in November. Halo 5 wasn't ever considered for awards because it came out in November. Skyrim wasn't winning any awards because it came out in November. It's just, if there was an update to that, I missed it.
Yeah, sure.
I definitely think that Red Dead is going to take it this year just because of how visible it's been. And then, my personal pick for what it should be is God of War. It's a total reinvention of the series. It's a total tone shift, and it nails it 100%. Cory Balrog has. I am going to be following his career no matter what happens from now on.
Oh, absolutely.
Small runner.
Everybody after that Reacts video, like when he saw the reviews coming in, like how endearing was that? Like, you just dude. Outside of making a world-class game,
he instantaneously went on my dream guest list. Eventually, the moment he did that Reacts video, and then watching him do other like shows and just the passion, and then meeting him at E3, I was just like, I literally just told him to my face, I'm like, I run a podcast. We're not big enough for you yet. My goal is to be big enough for you.
I love it.
That's me and Troy Baker this summer. I like Troy Baker is one of those dream guests. I've always wanted to just shoot the shit with him. And knowing that we shot an interview that was just me shooting the shit with Troy Baker and then going into it, like that made me unbelievably happy. Cory Balrog's now on that list. I will say a small runner-up to God of War as my own personal pick for Game of the Year is Spider-Man, but only because this Spider-Man game, it's a Spider-Man game, but it is totally legitimized the superhero open world genre. Like we have diehard fans of Batman, but they had too many problems and they didn't have a great release schedule, and they've had so much. Yeah, Patrick knows exactly what I'm talking about. There's a rumor that we're going to see a new WB Batman property tomorrow. Yep. And that's got me all rustled. But yeah, like I said, Spider-Man definitely deserves some mention in the Game of the Year contenders.
It just won't. It's like Horizon Zero Dawn, right? Like got robbed.
No, that is perfect.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Spider-Man's going to be that same game. I think like most years, Spider-Man's my game of the year. I don't even like Spider-Man. I've always thought he was kind of a lame superhero. I was always like gritty, dark. I'm a Batman dude. Like, although that dude literally just runs around beating up the mentally ill of Gotham.
Oh, of course,
a piece of shit. But this is the first like even interaction with the IP where I'm like, I get Spider-Man as a hero. Right? Like I was really invested. I thought Yuri Lowenthal destroyed. He's also not going to win an award for that performance. Nope. But in most years, that's everybody's game of the year. But I actually am with you. I just finished Red Dead last night. I think that is far and away one of the most impressive games I've ever played. I'd be really interested to see. There seems to be this weird critical backlash that like some games do. Do you remember BioShock Infinite had the same thing where everybody universally praised it out of the gate, and then there was all these think pieces about like how trash it was later. I feel like we're starting to get a little bit of that with Red Dead, where people are upset about the controls, that it's a better game than it is fun.
It's that contrarian.
And I think maybe God of War does both, right? Like, and I think God of War has a shot.
I think God of War has a definite shot just because of like, I said this when I played through it. It's a masterpiece.
It is
like full stop. It looks beautiful. It plays beautiful. The writing in it is incredible. Father son stuff really hits me hard for whatever reason in media. Josh, you are a father. I hope to be a good one day. And like, the idea that a video game based on a character whose essential like development was angriest man in existence.
I know, he's a piece of shit.
Like, yeah, no, that's perfect. That's perfect. He is the fucking worst. I would not. At the end of God of War 3, I would not want that person to have a fucking child.
No,
by the end,
he's
by
the villain
end of
at the end of God of War 3.
Yes,
yes, absolutely. And at the end of the reboot, at the end of God of War, all I want to see is Atreus grow up and Kratos be there for him.
Yep.
That's all I want. And for that to happen over the course of like 35, 40 hours of game, you know what I mean? It's not the world's longest experience, and it's extremely complete in terms of everything that you're able to do in the game.
Yep.
God,
I know, it's so good. That's so good.
Yeah, like I will continue to try and talk about it, but all I can give you guys is like I want that to win so bad because of how deeply it strikes with everybody I've seen play it.
I super agree.
And Red Dead it doesn't do that. It just doesn't. I'm not going to connect to Red Dead.
Did you finish it?
No, I haven't even played it. Like, that's the thing.
It's a long fucking game.
I played
Holy
through
cow.
I played through Red Dead Redemption and was like, this is pretty good. But I played it after everybody stopped talking about it.
Sure.
I mean, I went into it with no color. I went into it with no bias. And it really did feel like Wild West GTA 4.
Yeah.
I have a similar opinion about GTA 5. I think GTA 5 mechanically, technologically, like online, the 3 different character storylines, like the graphics, like I think GTA 5 really, really fucking amazing game. Really, really good. I wouldn't say that it's a perfect game for me.
But there's a weird distinction there, though. Like, I think it's easy to conflate those games with the GTA games. So, like, tonally, this one's so much different. I think the writers don't even like the characters in GTA 5, right? They're all irredeemable, nihilistic, garbage people, right? But, like, Arthur Morgan and everybody in this story are just so well crafted. You could tell that they were very proud of this. Like, and it's it goes some places, man. I'm not going to tell you how it ends. I rolled credits on it last night at like 2 a.m. Like, it's something, I'll tell you. And especially if you play the first one, it does a really good job of dovetailing right into that game. So I don't know, man. I'm also kind of pulling for God of War, but
I'm a total
positive problem to have as gamers.
I'm a total immersion type person. And as you know, I stream a lot of the games that I play, even casually. I just started Kingdom Hearts last night. Kingdom Hearts is a series that I've played by myself traditionally, and I feel a very deep connection to from my childhood until now. Kingdom Hearts 3 drops in January, and I'm playing through that blind.
Love it.
Here's the thing. If I want what you have with Red Dead, with what Josh has, with what a lot of my friends have had with Red Dead Redemption 2. If I want that, I think it's going to be one of those things where I play it by myself, I don't talk about it, and I don't try and approach it like from a work perspective.
Right.
And I just try and lose myself in it. Yeah. And I can't do that until later.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Yeah, I think the game just it's so deliberate, and it wants you to mosey. It wants you to see it and really experience it. I think, like, and again, I don't stream, but the idea of being on and engaging with an audience or whatever that entire time, I think will rob you of some of that, lack of a better word, immersion, but just connection with the characters. And like, if you just want to fucking fish for 20 minutes, it might not be the best thing for your audience, but it's what's best for you in the game. And like, I highly recommend playing that one by yourself. And if you want to have wacky, crazy moments, though, there's plenty of those. Like,
of course. You
can do a little bit of that, but
that's where I'm at. I just feel like the separation between like I'm playing this to entertain and I'm playing this to be entertained. For God of War, obviously, I still have that connection and I streamed that entire game. But with Red Dead, because I'm conscious of my own about it, I think that's the final thing that I just need to get down to sit down and play it and get through it all.
Yep.
And unfortunately for me and the rest of everybody I know, I have a backlog this fucking tall.
I know.
So I'll get to Red Dead eventually. But
did you guys play Assassin's Creed this year?
I didn't play Assassin's Creed last year still.
Okay, fair enough.
I have a still wrapped copy of Origins that I bought for Black Friday last year sitting over there.
Yep. Okay.
And I'm a Greek mythology person by like childhood and stuff. I'm more interested in the Egyptian stuff, so I refuse to even touch Odyssey until I've at least played Origins a little bit. So, you know, it literally sits over there mocking me. I still have to finish God of War over here, so it's like
I still got to play AC4. The last one I played was 3. And,
you don't have to play Black Flag's fun, but just go right to the new stuff. You're good.
Yeah, okay, all right.
In fact, I would say Origins is arguably the best narrative of any of those. Certainly the most cohesive.
Really? Okay, fair enough.
Well, what I would say is Assassin's Creed 4.
That's awesome.
What we've said about 4 for years, Constantly Calibrating, is that Assassin's Creed 4 is one of the single best pirate games ever made, and one of the worst Assassin's Creed games ever made.
Get behind that.
It has nothing to do with Assassin's Creed whatsoever, except for like the present day stuff, and that honestly, you could tune out. For the most part.
Well, that's why Ubi's working on Skull and Bones, right?
Yeah, essentially it's just pulling that aspect out. It's why they did the Rogue game, which is the side story game, and it's like, oh, you know, let's just make this into its own entire developmental property, its own entire thing, because we've already made a damn near perfect pirate game. Let's just make an actual intentional pirate game.
Did you play Rogue? I admit that was that weird, the split gen one, right? Where it came out on the 360 that year and we moved on. And I just never went back and played that.
Justin talks about it all the time, that he thinks it's one of the best Assassin's Creed games. And he always says that Assassin's Creed Unity is one of the worst Assassin's Creed games unless you play Assassin's Creed Rogue. Because you have to play Rogue for Unity to make any sense whatsoever.
I like Unity.
But that's just what he's said at one point or another. So we're kind of going a little long before we discuss, but I did have one question that I'm asking everybody at the very. So we're at the end of the year for most of these shows and stuff like that. The question I'm asking, instead of people asking like what your game of the year is, which we've kind of touched on a little bit anyways, Patrick, for you, would you say is your gaming experience of the year? Like for me, just as an example, I don't think Spider-Man is a game of the year game. I think it's a great game. I think it's my favorite Spider-Man story of all time, just to be clear, across comics, across all media. It's my favorite story. I think the combat is enjoyable, but extraordinarily repetitive. What to me was great was swinging through my home city, swinging through New York, trying to find the hospital I was born. That experience of just literally, I 100%ed the game, and then I still and then it was 2:00 in the morning, and then I still played for 3 hours, just swinging through the city, even though there was literally nothing to do. I couldn't help myself just doing that. So my experience was just taking in the sights and sounds, doing that. So what would you say is your experience in gaming this year? Your major one?
Oh, I'm going to go, can I cheat? I'm going to do 2. One that you got. So, did you guys play A Way Out?
Wanted to very badly, didn't get to play it.
Top of my backlog.
It is really something else. I played through it in one sitting with my cousin, start to finish, and it is I don't want to say too much about the narrative, but you guys are clear as what the game is, right? Like it's a cooperative game from different points of view, and that gets weirdly powerful at the very end, and they do some really things. So it's from the guy that did Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, which is arguably one of the most moving games I've ever played. I wept at the end of that game, and so this is obviously not on that level, but does some really interesting things mechanically that really blew me away. But I can't talk about it here, so I don't know. I think gaming experience of the year would have to be, I think, just getting lost in Red Dead. I know this. It's so like this is such a high. This is a industry benchmark game, and obviously the hype was unparalleled for this. We've been hearing about it for years, and obviously coming on the shoulders of arguably one of the best games of last generation. I thought there's no way that this lived up to the hype, but I think the fact that there are plenty of nights where we're building a new league on top of a technology company. And I'm, traveling all the world speaking about blockchain, and I've had less time to game this year. But so I found myself really goal oriented. Like when I played God of War, I was like, I got to get through this narrative. I got to do every, and I was like, it was very like, if I can go to bed and feel like I checked some things off my to-do list, I felt better about it. And in fact, so I used to host a podcast called Pixel by Pixel, and somebody wrote in and asked why we played games. And one of the things that it caused us to be deeply introspective about why I played games, and what I landed on was this, and this is why Red Dead changed this for me. I play games because in life or so I know in this paradigm at night, 10, 11, 30, 12 o'clock at night, I can turn on my Xbox, my PlayStation, and with the right series of button presses and combinations that I can achieve something. And there is a win state. And life's not like that. I can be the best possible brother, the best possible boyfriend. I can be the best possible founder of a company, and things can go wrong and things can break. There's so much uncertainty in the world. And I'm really, I'm building an industry where there's no blueprint, right? Like, so every day I live in this world of uncertainty, but at games, there's this win condition. And I followed that all year long, right? Like, my time to play was really limited. So when I did, I was so achievement oriented, not like actual achievements or trophies, but I needed to feel like I was progressing. And Red Dead cut me of that. Like, literally, there was times where I just fucked around customizing my guns and fished. And you can just exist in this world, and that pace, I know it doesn't click for everybody, and Arthur moves so slowly and so deliberately, but there's something magic if you stop fighting the game and give into the experience that it wants you to have. It is unlike anything I've ever played. I mean, truly, I don't think this is an iterative open world game. I think it's to some degree revolutionary. There's not other games that do this. So I'd encourage you to play at the pace that it wants you to. That was a really, really neat game.
And I did not like Red Dead 2 for the first maybe 5 hours I played it. And I played it for the simple fact of the matter is it's Red Dead 2. I have to play it. Red Dead Redemption is one of my favorite games. I like Westerns. I like the setting. I'm curious about the story. And I forced myself to the point that I played it late at night when it first released. And I straight up fell asleep during the opening missions, riding up. It was late. And I kept waking up with mission fails because I was wandering off the path, that first mission in the snow. So I forced myself to get through all of that, woke up the next day, played the game, and I was like, I'm not playing this. This is slow, this is sluggish, and I'm just not feeling. I'm understanding a lot of the negativity I'd already heard about the game, and it's just not gelling for me. And then finally, I don't know when it was, somewhere towards the end of Act 1, I just kind of stopped fighting the game. I stopped sprinting through town. I stopped galloping through town, murdering the shit out of every person I came across because they were literally getting trampled to death. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna race around like a moron when online comes out. I'm just gonna exist.
Just be Arthur.
The moment I became Arthur, I was like, it's still not one of my favorite games. It still hasn't hit where I'm at in the game. It still hasn't hit that Red Dead 1 level, but I'm still.
Where are you?
I'm probably somewhere in the middle of Act 3, 60 hours in. That's the comment I'm about to make here. Is I'm saying it's not one of my favorite games. It's not this experience is not hooking me the same way. Yet I probably have almost 3 times the amount of playtime in this than I have in Red Dead 1 and I've done nothing. I've done literally nothing in the damn game.
And that's what I'd say, Blake, too, when you do play it, if you get to it, it really so for example, it just sounds, I guess it's a really neat magic trick because mechanically it sounds incredibly boring to shave on the regular or to bathe. But when you start just existing in the world, you don't want people in town to think you have a hygiene problem. So I bathed on the regular. A game I would never, I'd be like, fuck this game. I got other things to do. Like I said, let's figure it out. I want to see the numbers go higher. I want my gear to be better. And I shaved on the regular, especially if something happens to Arthur a little bit into the game. And I really wanted him to feel presentable, right? I just was like, fucking shave and take a bath and play this. They mocap whole scenes at the camp. You can just exist in the camp. And it's stuff there's more content in this game that I missed than are in other games. Right. Do you know what I mean? They're not afraid to have you just miss shit. So I would say spend some time at camp, listen to these huge, long mocap scenes. You'll really get to know these people in a way that I think is really unparalleled in games. Anyway.
That was the thing I finally had to accept also, by the way, in the game is I'm a person, I'm very obsessive with games. I play an RPG or something like that, Dragon Age Origins, for instance. I know for a fact that the quest is to the right, but I'm going to go to the left. Oh, there's another fork. I'm going to go down both forks. Oh, there's another fork in this. I'm going to go down this fork. And full well knowing I'm going the complete wrong direction in this dungeon because I have to make sure I'm getting that one last piece of trash loot. I have to see everything that's viable to see. Red Dead 2 has kind of taught me, fuck that. There's not enough time in your life. And even if you could, there's literally no way you could see everything. The game is structured so you will not see everything. That is the entire structure of the experience. And it's kind of retraining to my brain a little bit in a weird sort of way.
That's exactly it, right? It's just fundamentally changed how you approach games, and that's an achievement in and of itself. I mean, I will say, God of War built. I kind of hope that actually wins Game of the Year. But like Red Dead is an achievement above and beyond. It's really something special.
Well, it's literally just the technological and just the structural and the psychological aspect of it. I honestly can't wait till Red Dead 2's out for a couple more years, and people, because we've gone through the cycle of everyone loves it, then now we're in the cycle point of everyone is bitching about it. I'm looking forward to the. I'm guessing sometime around spring to summer when people start writing the really in-depth psychological posts about how this game affected them or how they introduced this game to their parent who'd never played video games and and thought the video games were bullshit. Like those kind of stories are what I'm actually really looking forward to.
I am too. I think like this thing didn't have to exist. Like I'm really kind of hate typically prequels, right? Like the first one was beloved. Like I don't know if you guys saw Solo this year, but it was such a trash movie.
I disagree, but.
I would love to talk about Solo because I think it's fascinating. But my point is, a lot of times what sequels tend to do is they over-explain stuff and add things. And I won't harp on Solo, but like they did this thing where like they really fleshed out Marston's arc, because where we pick up from Marston, that he's not the guy that you meet at the beginning of this game, and it's a really an additive property when you see. It really makes Red Dead 2 Red Dead, the original, a better game, knowing where Marston came from. And then really, and obviously with Dutch, because he's in the second one, like I think he's one of the best written characters in the game in a very long time.
Dutch is
incredible.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Jared Petty always talks about with on Red Dead Radio is people forget with Red Dead Redemption 1, you don't even know Dutch's name until almost the last third of the game.
I know, right?
Dutch is barely in that game. John is barely a character. You know some degree about him, but he's barely a character in that first game. And a lot of what you learn is the majority of what you learn about John is in that last 4 hours, depending of Red Dead 1. That's the vast majority of what you learn about him in a 20-ish hour game. That's kind of insane to think about. So this game really does give these two characters, and then the rest of this thing. Even Bill Williamson, a bullshit villain of the first game, kind of is like a legitimate person that my thing is always to insult him whenever I come across him. And as the game has gone on, I've kind of felt a little bad about it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It really, yes, all of that is super true. What was I going to say? Lost my train of thought about the prequel stuff. But yeah, no, it definitely, it's definitely additive for sure.
Yeah, so we don't need to go into Red Dead 2 endlessly here, even though we already have for 20 minutes. I don't know. We have another topic here, the last topic. I don't know. Do we want to touch on that before we go?
Totally up to you guys. I am running a little lean on time, but I'm happy to jump into whatever.
Then we talk about stuff later. We'll have you back on another time. So with that, Patrick. All the places people can find you, all the places people can find everything you're working on.
Oh, rad. If you want to follow along with the FCFL, it's at FCFL.io on Twitter or FCFL.io on the internet. And also Instagram. You can find me at P to the D's, so I'm constantly tweeting about football and games.
Fair enough. And so I mean, thank you so much for joining us on this show. And legitimately, I was excited about the show, and I'm glad it turned out the way that my brain constructed it. So
it's just been fun. Thanks, guys.
There's the two rules of podcasting. We're all podcasters here. We all know this thing. You have the guests you're super excited for, and your guests you're middling excited for, and the guests you're not. And a lot of times the guests you have no interest in that you just happen to book because maybe someone recommended them or just something structured out that it made sense. Sometimes surprised, you're like, wow, that was an amazing episode. Or sometimes you get really excited waiting for a guest to come on for a while, and then you just realize you don't mesh. Your styles don't mesh.
Totally.
And there's no conversation there. So that happens a lot. So it's always great for me when I do get really excited about a guest. And we can have these nice back and forths and nice discussions, and I could learn that I'm interested in interactive sports.
I just love that. Like, God, it's been 4 years since Patrick and I were on a show together. Mm-hmm. And in those 4 years, every single time we've talked about doing a show or we've talked about doing a podcast, we've talked about anything, it has always ended with both of us saying, like, I will find something for you to do. Mm-hmm. Let's do the thing.
Yeah, amen.
Like, I'm so ready. And I love that because these times where we just get to shoot the shit, where we get to talk about like what everybody's working on currently and games. Like, Patrick, you get me when it comes to games. I don't have to explain like the difference between me playing an entertaining game to be entertaining, or the reason that I fell in love with this small shitty indie game. Like, falling in love with games is very easy for both of us, and talking about it is very easy. I love that we already have that established chemistry, and then being able to rejuvenate it every so often. You know what I mean?
Where we left off, totally.
Right.
This has been awesome.
Like, exactly. And it's great because it's one of those, like, oh man, I found a friend for life. Like, I'm good. I'm solid. Let's check in every now and then and like keep fucking grinding away.
Right back at you.
All right.
Thanks, brother.
Two things. One, before we get to the outro, I forgot to do the ad read during the show, so we're gonna do that really fucking quickly. Are you looking for an affordable, portable, easy to use green screen solution? If so, you should this is why I do the middle of the show. If so, you should head on over to constantlycalibrating.com/webaround. While there, you'll find a wide variety of green screens, much like the one I have right here, which I actually folded up for this podcast last time. I forgot to fold it up. So yeah, it's easily fold and stuff like that. It's easy transportable. Our listeners, viewers, guests, and even lurkers can save 10% off one of these with offer code ConCalPod. That's CONCALPOD. Head on over to constantlycalibrating.com/webaround and check out their stuff. There's that. So yeah,
I want one. Sold.
Oh, there you go. Apparently I was one of the top sellers for WebAround. I discovered for last month. I get a free
Really?
T-shirt. Yeah, no, like I get a free t-shirt.
That's awesome.
The 1 month I wasn't like shouting it out, actually. Was the
man,
month.
they're a great little mom and pop company.
Yeah, that's
they really are, and I can't wait to see them again. I hope that they're at South.
I've heard they might be. I've been talking to them. We're actually Constantly Calibrating is gonna be doing some fun stuff with them next year, more than just the normal sponsor stuff. Nothing to announce yet. I'm working out details, but our social media guy Cutright actually organized a really cool thing for us with them. But
neat, fun.
There you go. Thank you all for joining us this week. This show is live as we get guests right here on mixer.com/ConCalPod. We're on Facebook.com. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/ConstantlyCalibrating, Twitter at ConCalPod. Blake is at superblake_01. I'm at Bear Punch. Check out Instagram at instagram.com/ConstantlyCalibrating. But I guess most importantly, you could say, check out Discord at constantlycalibrating.com/Discord to get the most up-to-date info on everything related to constant calibrating, including bows, entries into contests, and the ability to further influence our content. Don't forget constantlycalibrating.com. That site's kind of important, particularly with we're having written content there now. And
that's right.
Yeah.
We have a schedule. We have a content production team. We've got a writer's room now. Mm-hmm. We're finally legitimizing all of those plans we've made with the various game companies and hardware companies, and yeah, it's happening. It's a thing. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm leading it, by the way.
Yeah.
I didn't mention that. Yeah.
We haven't formally announced it yet. It's going to be going out later this week. But Blake is the lead editor and the head of our written content.
Fantastic.
This is true.
Good stuff. Yeah, and also please make sure to leave us a review wherever you're able to. It really does help get the podcast in front of more listeners. iTunes, Spotify help the most. With that, we bid you all a good sign off.